First and 10 from the 12. Looking, fires into the back of the end zone. It's a jump ball, and it's going to be caught. Yes, touchdown. 12-yard touchdown catch. You talk about going sky high.
Live from our Seton Hill University studios, this is Westmoreland on the Gridiron on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Here's your host, Sean Myers.
And welcome back to another edition of Westmoreland on the Gridiron, each and every Wednesday, 7 p.m. right here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Sean Myers, Dan Flickinger coming to you from Seton Hill University. And Flick, it's hard to believe, but we're nearing the halfway point of the WPIAL high school football season. We have a lot to get to, including all of the scores around Westmoreland County from Week 3, the top performers, the always popular plays of the week. A couple of interesting interviews. Sam Albert, the head coach of the Kiski Area Cavaliers, his team off to a great start here in 2021. And Anthony Govern of Southmoreland voted as our player of the week. Also, we'll take a look ahead to the Week 4 previews. But I want to get into some of the biggest stories, and you have to start with the Jeannette Jayhawks because it has been a long start to the season for Jeannette. They had not scored through their first 3 games. They snapped that shutout streak, and they get their first victory, 28-6 against Riverview. Probably didn't think we'd be in this situation with the Jayhawks if you'd go back a handful of months, but I think this one means a lot for all those young men.
I think it does, and I think it means a lot to the community as well. But, you got to put the young men in front and talk about them for a little bit because they stuck it out. They stayed at Jeannette. There were a lot of those kids that, really had a lot of responsibility thrown on them when I don't know that they were ready for it, and I think that has shown certainly in the record. There's a lot of those kids, too, that have never played football before, that have, been on the band and decided to play football this year to help out the team. Got to feel really good for them, and I talked with Anthony D'Annunzio a few days ago, and he said it was just a great weekend. Of all the turmoil they've been through, they had the Athletics Hall of Fame, they had a bunch of interviews during our broadcast, interviewing the inductees, and then they had a chance on Saturday to, everybody to get together and really enjoy the great tradition of Jeannette football. So it really was a great weekend for everyone involved with Jeannette. That's something they haven't had often this year.
Absolutely, and Tyler Horn gets to start a quarterback. You and I talked to him during our season previews when we went around to the different camps. Man, he looked good. He impacted the game offensively. He also had a defensive score. So maybe they found something to potentially be a little bit more competitive as this season moves along.
Well, it's a good thing when you can find someone like that, again, has been through so much this year along with the other kids, to kind of get some of that good confidence going, that good feeling going. As you mentioned, 2 touchdown passes. He ran for another, and he returned an interception, 56 yards for a touchdown. So we knew going in that he would be a potential difference maker for Jeannette. Unfortunately, with so many holes on the Jeannette team, again, we mentioned with the new players and everything, it's been tough for him to really kind of dominate a game, but he was able to do so against Riverview.
Absolutely. So the first win of the season for Jeannette. However, it was one in the loss column for Penn Trafford in their second consecutive stiff challenge. This time they come up short against the other PT, Peters Township. Final score now 28-14 in favor of the Indians. And I thought that Penn Trafford really, once again, was mistake-prone in that loss. The offense has struggled 2 consecutive weeks. And now you're starting to wonder, do they have enough playmakers, and will they clean things up enough to be a real contender?
Well, I think that's something that they need to do, Sean. After that game was over, I kind of thought to myself, man, if they can develop some playmakers, they'll be okay. But if they don't, I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's a question mark right now. Obviously, their passing game has been something we've talked about a lot on this show. We've talked to John Ruane about. And obviously, he's the head coach, so he's going to have confidence that they can get that thing going and really turn that around and be able to throw the football. But we have not seen it yet. If Penn Trafford is ahead in games, they can usually run the ball. They're going to be okay. But once they fall behind and have to put the ball in the air, we have not seen good things. And, when you look at the playmakers that they do have. Cade Yacomelli obviously is a baller. He's a playmaker. Carter Green runs his butt off. He is such a great runner. He plays really hard. He just has not been able to come around in terms of throwing the football yet. Had a couple of interceptions last week. So The one thing that I will say for any Penn Trafford fans that are kind of on the edge right now, they're still 0-0 in conference play. They still have an opportunity to clean up these mistakes. They still have an opportunity for the passing game to come around, and they're still a really good team. They've played some really good opponents, too. So keeping all that in mind, some people may say, oh, PT's 2-2, wow. And they've played some good teams that they've lost to, in Bell Vernon and Peters Township. So I think they will come around, but I think that's something that must be done better, and that's, throwing the football and, again, developing more playmakers.
Yeah, and those turnovers were just massive. We saw one nearly returned for a touchdown after a fumble and then a second fumble by Tommy Kalkstein. So if they can get rid of those mistakes, that really could make a big difference potentially. And I think Ian DeMary, a player that they have missed the last couple of weeks as well. He's technically the backup running back, but he gets very heavily involved when he's out there.
That is 100% correct. I think I might have mentioned that to you off the air at some point. I think a lot of people are overlooking that because not only is he a guy that can spell Cade Yakimelli, who's playing on both sides of the ball. We know how much effort he makes on both sides of the ball. I mean, his engine never stops, but sometimes you need it to stop for him to get a break. And I remember talking with John Durain about that before the season started. Like, how are you going to be able to get Cade out of the game here and there and be able to spell him? And he mentioned Ian DeMary. But when he's down, not only does that hurt in that way, but it also hurts on defense because he also is a kid that's very physical and a kid that could play very good linebacker for you. And unfortunately, with him out, that definitely hurts the defensive side of the ball too. And we're going to be getting our plays of the week coming in here pretty soon, Sean. How about Shanafelt? The fantastic catch that he made for Peters Township, and that was a huge catch at that point because Penn Trafford was winning 14-12 at that point.
There are some plays that Peters Township made that the Warriors can just tip their cap, and that's understandable because we know Peters Township, Penn Trafford, they've had a great rivalry. They've been two of the best teams. Again, it goes back to can the Warriors clean up some of the mistakes they made so that they give themselves a better chance. But yeah, I was impressed by Peters Township, some of the plays that they made, even without some of their top weapons available. A guy who's been a top weapon all season long has been Anthony Govern for Southmoreland. We're going to talk to him a little bit later. He was chosen as our player of the week, but man, he and the Scotties look pretty explosive on offense. I did not see this coming after the graduation of Zach Cernuto. I thought there'd be a pretty big drop-off at quarterback. So far, there has not been.
He has, I think, defied our expectations, that's for sure. Running for 3 touchdowns, throwing for 2 more, and it was a key win for Southmoreland, 33-19 win over a pretty scrappy South Allegheny team. But when you have Anthony doing what he can do after playing multiple positions in his high school career, including tight end, and he comes in this year and takes control of the offense and does what he's doing is really, really impressive, Sean. And, I thought that maybe he would be a good running quarterback, kind of like a Carter Green or something, but he's been able to complete passes, obviously. I mean, 8 for 18 isn't sparkling, but he's done enough. It
seems like the completions are usually for touchdowns or long games.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe obviously he's not the athlete that Devin Whitlock is, but they don't need Devin to throw, step back and throw the ball a lot. They don't really need Govern to step back and throw the ball a lot. They need him to be able to control the offense, run the ball, and then make those completions that he needs to, like Whitlock's doing.
Yeah, and Southmoreland has a couple of really good receivers as well, J.J. Bloom and Isaac Trout. So when he's able to get the football out and it's on the mark, usually good things are going to result. This is a team in Southmoreland that they were pretty competitive last year after making the jump up from 2A, but I think that they've taken the next step, and you have to look them right now as probably a playoff contender and maybe even contending for a conference championship.
I don't see why not. I mean, I think they're in the same category as like a Ligonier Valley, right? I mean, they're coming out this year. Maybe a lot of people didn't think about Southmoreland and Ligonier Valley as conference or even WPIAL champions, but I think you have to right now. I mean, they're doing some really great things. It'll be interesting to see how Southmoreland battles in conference play, but I would have to think, I mean, they started out their season obviously with a win in terms of conference season. I would think that they're going to have success in the conference as well. We'll see who it comes down to.
Absolutely. 33-19, the victory that the Scotties had against South Allegheny. They're now 3-1 on the season. And you mentioned Ligonier Valley. Well, that's a team in the Rams that improved to 4-0, courtesy of a 33-6 victory against Fraser. That is non-conference, so the Rams have not opened to a conference play yet. But they are showing that they're not just a one-man team. Hayden Siraki, their quarterback, will probably be out for at least a few more weeks. Well, they were able to still put 33 points on the board. Nick Beidel, a terrific running back, had a big game. They have guys who can step up, and I think that this is a team, again, that as long as they stay relatively healthy and get their top guys back for the crucial conference games, they'll make some noise as well.
Yeah, can't wait for Ligonier Valley and Sarah Catholic. It might come down to those teams to see who wins the conference. And I think that's the difference between a football team and a program that Roger Beidel has built at Ligonier Valley. You lose a kid like Hayden Siraki, who has been tremendous this year for Ligonier Valley. And by the way, we actually got word literally like an hour after the show last week that he would miss the next couple of weeks with an injury. And we were like, oh, can we go do the show again, to make sure we mention that. So he will be out for a few weeks. Hopefully he's able to come back strong and really help continue to guide this team. But, again, that's the difference between a team and a program. When you have injuries, you can plug other guys in there and not skip a beat. That's what Ligonier Valley did against Fraser, a key win for, the Rams in that way, being without their starting quarterback, playing at home. That was a nice win to get, certainly. And, you have to look at guys like Grant Dowden, who stepped up 5 catches for 86 yards, also caught the first touchdown pass, had 50 yards rushing. And then, of course, Broderick Schreier, who stepped in place of Siraki. He did a tremendous job, too, guiding the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Miles Higgins, another name. Hope that he's okay. I know he was a little banged up as well. And, again, Nick Beidel had a breakout performance. They have a lot of confidence in him that he can run the football with great success. So another win for the Rams. They improved to 4-0 on the campaign. One of 3 Westmoreland County teams who are still undefeated here in 2021.
Oh, should we give a shout-out to Jude, our nose tackle?
Jude
Shavinsky. I wanted to make sure I didn't embarrass myself. I knew you knew how to say. Intercepted a screen pass. Now, he's 301 pounds. Down the field he goes 35 yards for a touchdown.
4-year starter.
Yes.
On the line for the Rams. That is impressive, especially for what was a very good team when he was an underclassman.
And when you do things like that, that gets the team going. When you watch that back on film the next day, it gets the team going even more. So good for him.
Absolutely. As we mentioned, the Rams are one of 3 undefeated teams, also Bell Vernon area, and the other one, Kiski area. And we'll hear from their head coach, Sam Albert, a little bit later on. We'll also talk to Anthony Govern of Southmoreland, our player of the week, and look ahead at Week 4 with the preview. But when we come back, we'll run down the rest of the scores from Week 3 as well as the top performers, and also coming up in a little bit, our plays of the week. That's all to come as we roll along here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
You're always on the winning team with Bowser Chevrolet of Monroeville and Bowser Chevrolet Chippewa. Visit BowserChevrolet.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and get the power of Bowser in your hands. With the new Chevy vehicles arriving weekly, reserve yours now at Bowser Chevrolet. See the full lineup of Chevy cars, trucks, and SUVs at BowserChevrolet.com. Bowser Chevrolet, where the power of Bowser is yours.
This is how far we'll go to treat heart, lung, and vascular disease. 15 millimeters. At Excella Health, we believe less can be more. That's why we use minimally invasive surgery in the treatment of coronary artery disease, heart valve repair and replacement, lung cancer, and conditions of the peripheral arteries. For our patients, that means less blood loss, less post-operative pain, and a faster recovery. It means that a disease process that took decades to develop can, in a few hours, be reversed. And for us, it means providing the most advanced and sophisticated care for patients in our region. The Heart, Lung, and Vascular Institute at Excella Health. Expert care here.
We continue here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron. Sean and Dan talking Westmoreland County High School football each and every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on WSN. We'll now run down the rest of the Week 3 scoreboard as well as the top performers We mentioned that a couple of these games already were on our broadcasts with the Peters Township Penn Trafford one of the video. You can go back and watch or listen to all of our broadcasts archived. We'll begin with the video broadcast. So as we mentioned, a 28-14 victory for Peters Township over Penn Trafford in the Battle of PT's second consecutive loss for the Warriors. And the most surprising thing, Flick, the first time in a long, long time that they lost at Warriors Stadium. That just almost never happens.
A lot of coaches and teams like to say they like to play at home, and I'm sure they do. Penn Trafford really means it. Every time I ask John Ruane about it, especially you had first responders night, a big crowd there on hand. It would have been nice to get that W if you're Penn Trafford, but now you move on.
Absolutely. It will be an opportunity to move on for Franklin Regional as well. A tough one for the Panthers. They fell to Fox Chapel area 13-9 in a low-scoring affair. You can go back and watch that one as well. That was the third consecutive loss for FR after they opened with an impressive victory against the Plum Mustangs.
Big game for Caden Smith, huh?
Yeah, I think you could say that pretty much every week, right? Caden Smith has been terrific, and I think the future's bright because they have a lot of underclassmen who are showing that they can really make some big plays, but they haven't really put it together much after that Week 0 victory against the Mustangs. But again, it hasn't hurt them in terms of their playoff bid yet because it's still non-conference in 5A. It was a conference game, however, for the Derry area Trojans, and they fell 49-0 against Deer Lakes. That's the first win in a long time for the Lancers. The Trojans now at 0-4. You can go back and watch that one, but it looks like it's going to be a tough season for Derry area. Again, they have yet to win a game this season, and that one was their first conference loss here in 2021. You could say the same for Hempfield area and Norwin. Very similar scores in the 6A conference openers. Seneca Valley defeats the Spartans 49-0, and Pittsburgh Central Catholic defeats the Norwin Knights 50-0. So three Westmoreland County teams that we had on the air all shut out in their conference openers. Hope that they all bounce back in this upcoming week, and certainly nowhere to go but up for those teams at this point.
Yeah, it's really difficult, Sean, and it's like a broken record every year. You know, when they jump into conference play, how competitive can they be? And unfortunately, they have not been competitive enough, and they know that. You know, Hempfield and Norwin, both teams know that, both programs know that, and they're striving to continue to try to be better. Mike Brown, I thought it was interesting when he talked with our Jack Ridenour prior to the game against Seneca Valley. He said, yeah, you know, we don't really look at this as a gauntlet. You know, we want to go in to win these games. We don't want to just compete. We want to win. Didn't happen against Seneca Valley, but I did like the mindset.
And keep in mind, there's 5 of the 8 teams that make the playoffs. So you think, okay, well, there's those 2 teams, Baldwin and Cannon McMillan. One of those teams will get in all likelihood. Obviously, one of them, maybe potentially 2 of them could get in. But you figure, okay, if you win those games that are all potentially winnable, you could make the postseason. Now, how long that'll last could be a different story because right now Pittsburgh Central Catholic and North Allegheny, Seneca Valley, Mount Lebanon seem to be well above the rest.
Well, as I've said before, sometimes just getting to the playoffs, I mean, that's your ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's the step that these programs need, ultimately, to your point. We mentioned Jeanette scores the victory against Riverview. You can go back and listen to that one as well. Final score now in 28-6 in favor of the Jayhawks. Other Westmoreland County games from Week 3. Greater Latrobe knocks off Mount Pleasant area 35-0. Good bounce back for the Wildcats. Interesting battle there. Both teams using backup quarterbacks. Tyler Reese was out for Mount Pleasant. We know that Bobby Fetter has been out for a couple of games now for the Wildcats, and Greater Latrobe certainly needed a bounce back effort. They got it. Drake Clayton with another big showing for Greater Latrobe.
And I think that's a good game too, Sean, to go up against a 3A school where you're favored if you're Latrobe, and the hope is that Fetter won't be out for much longer, but we're not sure. So that gives Braden Riot a little bit more experience now heading into conference play for the Wildcats.
Yeah, Riot threw the ball pretty well. Corey Borio also has done a nice job.
Yep.
He can run the football as well. So they plan on using both of those two probably until Fetter gets back.
I do want to. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off again. What's the matter with me? I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Reese is supposed to be back this week for Mount Pleasant,
and he's a great athlete. So
yeah.
that will make a difference, and they will need him because they will have a big time showdown, as we'll get to a little bit later. We mentioned it before. Kiski area 4-0 on the campaign for the first time in a long, long time. The Cavaliers knock off Connellsville 41-7. We'll hear from Kiski area head coach Sam Albert in just a little bit. Bell Vernon area also undefeated. They are 3-0 since the Leopards did not play a Week 0 game. They made quick work of West Mifflin 49-3 in favor of the Leopards, and they will have the biggest game of their season upcoming, so it looks like they are certainly playing their best football at the right time. Also, Greensburg-Salem, 34, Knock 13. Look at the record for Greensburg-Salem. 3-1 sort of jumps out because this was a team that won just once last year. It did come at the expense of the Knock Knights, but all of a sudden, after a little deflating loss in Week 0 against Hempfield area, Coach Kiefer has his team rolling.
Really, and I know Knox not the best team in the conference, but man, do they continue to throw the ball really well. And I feel like, again, as I mentioned last week, maybe when you go up against lesser competition, you're able to run the ball really well against some teams, but I feel like throwing the ball is even more impressive. You still got to complete the passes, and Hayden Teska, 173 yards passing, Jaden Stevens, 4 catches for 90 yards and a couple touchdowns last week. So, again, we'll see when Greensburg-Salem has to play some tougher opponents, but so far so good.
And I think it's a wide-open conference. Some of the teams that have been perennial powers, like a Mars Fighting Planets, they're down this year. Mars has yet to win a game. Plum, the defending conference champion, also 0-4. So probably the two best teams from a year ago at the bottom. You look at Hampton. Okay, they're having a good year, but they're not a dominant program year in and year out. Highlands is also off to a good start. And then it's Greensburg-Salem, it's Indiana, it's Armstrong, all in the mix. So there's certainly opportunities for the Golden Lions competing in that conference. Southmoreland, as we mentioned, gets a big victory against South Allegheny to open 3A conference play. The Scotties prevailing 33-19. They are also now at 3-1 on the year. The York Cougars shut out once again. They fall to 0-4. And that's a tough go for their offense that has really, really struggled this year. They got Tara Crosby back, but so far has not paid dividends, and they're going to have some tough matches upcoming as well. Hope that they get the offense on track, because certainly it's tough to see those zeros in the score column for the Cougars. Pearl was able to get some offense, but it wasn't quite enough as the Buccaneers came up shy against East Allegheny, 30-21 in favor of the Wildcats and our friend Dom Pecora. It was a shutout for Valley as well, as the Vikings could not get on the scoreboard against North Catholic. Trojans continue to dominate. Final score in that one, 49-0 in favor of North Catholic. We mentioned Ligonier Valley with a big 33-6 victory against Fraser. The Rams 4-0 on the campaign. Greensburg Central Catholic got a victory, but not the way that the Centurions wanted. They win 1-0. Yes, that's the official score for a forfeit victory. And this one was decided late. It was, I believe, early Friday that word came out that the game would not be played. Amani Christian does not have a big roster, and they had, I think, 3 or 4 players with illness, non-COVID related, but they just were not going to be able to suit up and legitimately play against the Centurions, and they weren't able to fill that spot, so GCC got sort of an unexpected open week while still getting a victory.
Yeah, GCC was looking for someone to play, but when you find out, I mean, when you're trying to do that late in the game,
maybe you find out Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, maybe you have an opportunity. And that's certainly no fault of Greensburg Central Catholic. They were informed that, Amani wasn't going to play the game, and so GCC gets a win and they move on. And it's a shame too, Sean, because as you mentioned, Amani Christian was in the Whippeal Championship not that long ago, but you never know from year to year what you're going to get at Amani in terms of roster size, and unfortunately they couldn't play the game last Friday.
So GCC now 3-1 and gets a conference victory, so things sitting pretty well for the Centurions in what appears to be once again a wide open 1A with Jeanette down and Clareton maybe not as good as some past years, so we'll see what the Centurions can do as they get into the heart of their conference. Monessen with its second straight victory, knocking off Bentworth 50-9 in favor of the Greyhounds. They are now 2-2. That's it for the high school scores, but a couple of college scores, and unfortunately they did not go in favor of the Westmoreland County teams. Seton Hill played great defensively again, but the Griffins' offense continues to sputter. They fell at Kutztown 14-3, the first loss of the season for the Griffs. They're now 2-1. And St. Vincent College coming up short at home against Geneva. That is the PAC opener. So just one non-conference game for the Bearcats to get ready. 42-24 in favor of Geneva over St. Vincent. They're 1-1 on the campaign.
Looking back at that Seton Hill game, there is absolutely no doubt that they have one of the best defenses in the PSAC. But I guess you could say the opposite for the offense. I mean, they have just been struggling so badly, whether they go up against a good defense or not. They just have not been able to, convert in the red zone. They had a touchdown that potentially could have happened at the end of the first half. They rolled that the receiver was out of bounds, and instead they settled for a Luke Hogger field goal, who, by the way, has been having a great first season.
Well, they've needed him to.
Basically first season at Seton Hill. Yeah, the Mount Pleasant kicker. Former Mount Pleasant kicker. So he's been doing a really good job for them. But, man, defensively, they're just so good. But offensively, they just can't get anything on track. Not going to get any easier against Slippery Rock, the number 6 ranked team in the country this year. And, Sean, I just wanted to add something about the high school, kind of the Westmoreland County scene this year. I think there's a lot of intriguing teams and maybe unproven teams that have the ability to maybe do better than they have in the past. And I think we've touched on that. Like, Southmoreland, Greensburg, Salem, Ligonier Valley last year, first year in the WPIAL, they were just kind of, middle of the pack, kind of there. But when you look at these teams now this year, you're thinking that maybe they have a chance to do something more. Maybe win a conference championship or at least compete for a conference championship and throw Kiski area in there as well.
Yep.
So while I think that Penn Trafford will still be good, but when you look at like a Jeanette and Derry, who has been having really good seasons, they're kind of down this year. You're looking at the typical teams that have really good years in Westmoreland County football. Maybe they're not quite as what we've expected. But then you have these new teams, again, like Kiski, Southmoreland, that are really taking the reins. And I know Ligonier Valley's had some great seasons in District 6. I'm talking about the WPIL specifically. I think that it does make it for a little bit of a different feeling this year for Westmoreland County football, and I think that's what makes it fun for observers like us. And, of course, then you have Bell Vernon completely doing their thing again. They've taken another step.
Right, and it's sometimes those surprising teams, those are the best stories. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't always lead to a championship or a great playoff run, but to your point, you said it before, sometimes just getting to the playoffs is a big step. We know what that meant for Southmoreland a couple years ago. Some of those same players are back. Now they want to get to the playoffs and do something more with it. So we'll see. You mentioned Kiski area's in the same boat. That's something I talked to with Sam Albert regarding about how they continue to, build upon this great start to the season, because the first half of the season's one thing, but it always seems like the best teams, they play their best down the stretch.
Sure do.
Well, let's look at the top performers from Week 3, and there was some prolific statistical outputs from some of these young men. Again, it is the top passer, rusher, and receiver across the entire WPIAL, and then we'll mix in the top performers specific to Westmoreland County. The top passer from Leechburg, Thomas Burke, in a loss, goes for 360 yards on 18 of 35 passing. That was 130 yards ahead of the top Westmoreland County performer, Lorenzo Gardner, the quarterback for Monessen. Efficient, just 8 completions, spanning 230 yards for the Greyhounds quarterback.
And what a great effort by Thomas Burke, by the way, going up against Clairton. He did everything possible that he could to try to pull that upset. Just didn't quite happen.
Yeah, the Bears proved that they're still maybe the team to beat. There's no down years for Clairton, it seems like. We mentioned Gardner for Monessen. Devin Whitlock doing what he's done all season, 177 yards through the air for Bell Vernon area. And again, 11 of 14 completing at a very high percentage. Hayden Teska, 10 of 19. He's been on this list, I think, every week throughout the early portions of the season. The Greensburg-Salem Golden Lions QB, again, 173 yards through the air. And Anthony Govern, our player of the week, we'll hear from him in a little bit. The Southmoreland Scotties QB throws for 160 yards in the team's victory. The top rusher in all of the WPIAL is Najai Burt of Steel Valley, 285 yards for the Ironmen. That's a player that Roger Beidel knows all about. He will be seeing Burt in a few weeks. That will be a big-time showdown for Ligonier. Top rusher in Westmoreland County, Caden DiCaprio of the Burrell Buccaneers. They have yet to win a game, but he's done everything in his power. 214 yards on the ground. Quentin Martin from Bell Vernon area, one of the top sophomores in the entire country, goes for 160 yards on the ground. Another appearance for Chad C.J. Hepler as he produces 148 yards for Kiski area, and a couple of Penn Trafford Warriors on the list as well. Cade Iacomelli, 134, and Carter Green, the quarterback, 109. And the top receiver in the WPIAL in Week 3 is Prashawn Gaynor of East Allegheny, 9 receptions, 205 yards. That actually tied Westmoreland County's own Caden Garner of Burrell, who also had 9 receptions for 205 yards. Behind them, Amarian Rainey of Monessen, 3 receptions spanning 125 yards. Isaac Trout of Southmoreland, 5 catches for 110. And Caden Smith of Franklin Regional, 6 receptions, 100 yards to round out the top performers.
So if I'm adding this up right, we had 3 Cadens and 1 Cade on our players of the week, if you will, or statistical leaders of the week, if you will.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure I have that tally right. Okay.
Got to always make sure to differentiate between Cade and Caden.
Caden.
And how you spell Caden.
That's very
as
true,
well.
too.
With a C or with a K.
Or Sean with an...
There's a lot of ways, yes. Many of which I have found to be completely incorrect. Nonetheless, that'll do it for the Week 3 scores and top performers. But don't go anywhere, because after a quick break, it will be everyone's favorite segment, the plays of the week. We'll also hear from Sam Albert and Anthony Govern, as well as take a look ahead at Week 4 as we continue right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
We know speaking with your teen or your young adult about drugs and alcohol can be challenging, but is necessary. Remember to have a conversation, not a confrontation. Establish good communications, break through barriers, and be firm but loving. Here are some helpful tips. Choose a good place and time to chat. Talk with openness. Actively listen. Offer empathy and support. For more information, visit us online at wedacinc.org. Westmoreland Drug and Alcohol Commission. Prevention is key.
At Sendell Mitsubishi, buying your new vehicle is as easy as stop, shop, and roll. Stop wasting time in the dealership. Shop online in just a few easy steps. Roll on home in your new Mitsubishi or have it delivered to your door. SendellMitsubishi.com. At Sendell Volkswagen, buying your new vehicle is as easy as stop, shop, and roll. Stop wasting time in the dealership. Shop online in just a few easy steps. Roll on home in your new Volkswagen or have it delivered to your door. SendellVolkswagen.com.
Westmoreland on the Gridiron rolls along here on WSN. Sean and Dan coming to you from Seton Hill University. And Flick, are you ready for the always popular Plays of the Week segment?
Why do you ask me that every week? Of course I'm ready.
Okay, that's fair enough. Well, I will preface it by saying it was a tough week for Westmoreland County teams on our broadcast. We had 6 broadcasts. 1 Westmoreland County team reigned victorious, that being the Jeanette Jayhawks.
Well, I blame you that Penn Trafford lost last week because you were there. So.
Fair enough. Well, Mark Katarski, I think, was
yeah, you know what? You're right. Let's blame Mark.
But we were still able to get 4 plays of the week, and we actually went outside the county for one of them. We'll get to that momentarily. We'll begin with Franklin Regional. However, as the Panthers, they lost to Fox Chapel area, but Caden Smith provided another highlight reel play as he showed his hops. Yeah, he's a great basketball player on a 12-yard touchdown pass from Connor Donnelly, which was the Panthers' only touchdown, as detailed by the one and only Jonathan Whaley.
First and 10 from the 12. Looking, drives into the back of the end zone. It's a jump ball. It's going to be caught. Yes, touchdown. 12-yard touchdown catch. You talk about going sky high. Went up, and away. You can call him Superman. And the Panthers scored a touchdown on the opening drive of the third quarter. And it's number 16 that set the table. And he also washed the dishes. FR 9. Fox Chapel 7. Extra points to come.
Caden Smith, a 3-sport superstar. We've seen him on the baseball diamond. We've seen him on the basketball court, which I think came in handy on that one. And, of course, football. He can throw down a 360 dunk, so maybe a future touchdown he'll kind of go.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say you can also throw downfield a little bit, too. They throw him the quarterback every once in a while. I think Lance Getsy's done a really nice job of utilizing him in the right way.
Yeah, you got to get creative, right? And certainly they have experimented with different quarterbacks, but Caden's been part of that, and he shows that he can certainly not only throw it, but he can catch it as well. Great play by Caden Smith. Unfortunately, not quite enough for the Panthers. Speaking of not quite enough, that was the case at Penn Trafford for the Warriors, and they struggled offensively through the night. but it was Cade Iacomelli who made a mark on defense as he looked like a torpedo in delivering a hit on a Peters Township running back, Richie Woods, with myself and Mark Tarski on the call.
So this is clock management as much as it is trying to maybe punch one in right before the half.
And you factor in the last drive, it would potentially, look out. Lowering the boom is Cade Iacomelli as he hammers Richie Woods.
Folks, that's why schools like Wisconsin ask you to come play for them. He's out of the screen right now.
That's a pretty emphatic hit.
Out of the screen, in the screen. That's not trick photography either. Holy cow.
Whew, I could fill that one up in the press box, Sean. And, Cade's a kid. I think I mentioned this before, that you only need to see him play football like one time. Maybe have him run the football once or have him make a tackle. He's a great player. And the things that he was able to do, even against Bell Vernon early in the game, coming up and being physical, there's not many kids that can do that in the WPIL.
Yeah, and his future's probably on defense, it appears, at Wisconsin, and you got a little glimpse of why. And Mark Katarski absolutely loved that. But off the screen, there he is. Mark Katarski, he loves more than a great
He can
tackle.
paint a picture,
Yes. Well, in that same game, we have another plays of the week, and it's for Peters Township. It's a bonus one this week, as Peters took a 2-score lead in the second quarter on a spectacular connection from quarterback Sam Miller to receiver Jacob McCosco, as described by myself and Mark. 2 receivers each way. Miller under some pressure. Aired out to the end zone.
Wow.
Is that caught?
Wow.
An unbelievable catch in the corner of the end zone, courtesy of Jacob McCosco. 34-yard spectacular touchdown.
Wow. This is Sunday stuff. This is borderline you got mossed. All on 4th and 5.
The throw, incredible. The catch, arguably even better.
Wow. Might have been a hold here. I think Penn Trafford wanted it. Let's see if we see it at the bottom of the screen. There it is on the top of the screen. Yeah.
That was Ochendowski.
I think so. And then watch this. Only needs one. Oh, my. Oh, my.
We rarely, maybe this is the first time we actually showed a team outside the county having a big play. But whenever that happened, Sean, I think we went to commercial break. I said, we got to put that on Plays of the Week.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just amazing. It was
Now,
on our broadcast, and it was amazing.
I will say, Penn Trafford fans saying, that's a hold, bring it back. Okay, that's 100%
We also showed that
true.
on replay about 5 times.
No doubt. But the fact that the throw and catch were NFL caliber, to be honest. It's not going to happen very often. So, yeah, you have a gripe if you're a Warriors fan, but tip your cap. That is a spectacular throw and an even better catch. And we wrap up Plays of the Week with Jeanette, because after 3 straight shutouts, the Jayhawks finally broke through in the second quarter against Riverview as Tyler Horn hooked up with Zaire Petty, a newcomer, for the first points of the season. Brent Wiggum and Anthony Denunzio.
They're back.
They are back, and they paint the picture.
Tyler Horn gonna throw that football downfield, and he has an 18-yard touchdown pass, and the Jayhawks are on the board for the first time tonight, and it's Zaire Petty, the newcomer, who comes up with the touchdown catch.
Welcome to the Jeanette Jayhawks. Welcome to the end zone. Jeanette has scored for the first time since November.
Wow, it has been a long time coming, but that's got to feel good for everyone involved there. 6-0 the score.
Sean, when we got the update that it was 7-0 Jeanette, we were like kind of celebrating. We were like, finally, the Jayhawks able to taste the end zone, and they ended up scoring 28 points in the victory over Riverview. That was pretty cool. And if you watch back to like shows from even last year, 2 years ago, it was always Brent Wiggum, Anthony Denunzio, John Flickinger, Bob Lisinski. And now, with the teams in Jeanette and Derry struggling so badly, it's strange not hearing them. Hopefully, in the years to come, they'll be able to be part of our show again.
Yeah, and we need to get the Trojans on there soon,
We
right?
do.
You got to talk to your brother and say, listen, we got to have at least a spectacular play.
We used to have 5 Justin Huss touchdowns every week, and Justin Flack for that matter.
I think they had a long touchdown called back by Ahmad Ward this past week, and again, they lost in shutout fashion. So hopefully we'll have the Trojans on. At least we got Jeanette on for this one as they scored their first victory. They had been a staple for a long time here on Plays of the Week. That'll do it for this edition. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I had the opportunity to talk to the Kiski area head coach, Sam Albert. His team off to a great start at 4-0. That's upcoming as we roll along right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
I'm Anthony D'Annunzio from D'Annunzio's Restaurants. Come visit us at one of our 3 locations, Jeanette, Monroeville, or Latrobe. We're open 7 days a week, so we've always got something cooking at D'Annunzio's. For our dine-in specials, Monday it's spaghetti. It's raviolis on Tuesday, lasagna on Wednesday, and on Thursday it's chicken parmesan or chicken romano. Visit us online at D'Annunzio'sRestaurant.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. D'Annunzio's Restaurants. It's a family tradition.
When you're in pain or suffering from an injury, all you want is to get back on your feet, back to living your life. At East Suburban Sports Medicine Center, that's what we've done for 35 years. Our staff is skilled, experienced, and compassionate. Our facilities are modern and welcoming, and our focus is on you. So if you want to feel better, play better, and live better, call us today or visit one of our 6 offices.
East Suburban Sports Medicine. Take it from me, Bill Hillgrove. It's the best care, hands down.
We continue here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron. I'm Sean Myers, now joined by the head coach of the Kiski Area Cavaliers. 4-0 start for Kiski area. It's head coach Sam Albert. And Coach, I know you have to be very happy with the 4 wins so far. What have you seen as the biggest reason why your team's off to this great start?
You know what? We got a good group of seniors, and it sure makes it easy when you have leadership with your senior group. They're holding each other accountable and the team accountable. So that's very important nowadays. You know, if the coach says it, means one thing, but if you got a teammate that's saying it too, that's so important. So I've been impressed with my senior leadership.
A few of the games early in the season, games that came down to the wire, the victory against Greater Latrobe, in which you came back from a fourth quarter deficit, pulling away from Franklin Regional at the end. It was a close one against Butler area as well. Have you seen something that has led your team to show the ability to close out games late?
We always tell our kids whoever hits the hardest the longest wins the game. So going into the fourth quarter, we just keep telling them, just keep doing what you're doing, keep hitting, keep hustling, and so far it's worked out for us.
Another thing that has worked out for you is the running game. Even when you lost maybe your top option, Brock Wilkins is a terrific player. But when he went out with injury, Chad C.J. Hepler stepped up in his place, and he's done a terrific job as well. What does that say about your offense as a whole to be able to kind of fill a void and not really have a drop-off?
Yeah, listen, he has been a pleasant surprise. He hasn't played since 8th grade, and we talked him into coming out this year, so we really didn't know what to expect. And, man, he has really stepped it up and has really helped us, like you said, to let Brock now come back. And now you have both of them.
I know you said trying to get a player like Hepler to come out takes a little bit of recruiting. And I know your son Aaron is very active at Kiski area. He's obviously the baseball coach as well. How much work does it take, especially when you're relatively new at a program, to get the buy-in and to get the numbers up and to generate interest within the school?
It's hard. It really is, because there's so much other stuff for kids to do nowadays. And, you know, it used to be, like it was a manly thing to play football. I don't know if that's the same anymore. Everybody's equal, but in CJ's case, it was easier than most because he's my cousin. So I told him he was no longer invited to the family reunion if he didn't play.
Talking to Sam Albert, the head coach for the Kiski area Cavaliers. It seemed like, at least going into the season, you might utilize 2 different quarterbacks on a regular basis, LeBrin Smith and Logan Johnson. But thus far, Logan seems to have separated himself a little bit. What has stood out about his play?
Yeah, he's tremendous. He's exciting every time he touches the ball. He ad-libs like backyard football. You never know where he's going, what he's going to do. But so far, he's been just great for us. And LeBrin offers stuff, too, for us. Like, we're going to keep using him. He has some things that he does extremely well. So we hope to continue to use them both.
Well, everything that we've talked about so far revolves around the skill position guys on offense, but really I think one of the strong points of this team is the play up front, and you have a stud in Brandon Lawhorn Moore, obviously a Division I talent. What stands out about his play?
He's the leader of that group. Like you said, most times you win with what you have up front, and they have done a tremendous job. They work well together. They're holding each other accountable. And there's not enough good to say about him. Like, he's a great student, he's a great person, he's a great kid. Teachers love him, everybody loves him. And he has done a tremendous job for us this year.
With the exception of the victory against Greater Latrobe, which was higher scoring, your defense has really come up big, holding opponents to 14 or fewer points in 3 of the wins. What are the strengths of that side of the football?
Our linebackers are incredible. Brock and Stick. That's Dunmeyer, Matt Hildy. They do a great job in there. 2 of them are 4-year starters. So they read the guards and the running backs extremely well. And to have a good defense, it's like a machine. Every part has to work, and you have to rely on each other. And that's where that accountability comes in. And I'm real proud of that. They rely on each other, they believe in each other, and that's so important defensively.
You mentioned the nickname Stick. I believe nicknames are kind of a common thing for you, right? How did that sort of start?
Yeah, I say in the neighborhood I grew up with, everybody had a nickname. And I don't know, I've had kids who said, Coach, how come I can't have a nickname? I've had parents who ask me, how come my son doesn't have a nickname? And I laugh. I don't just give them out. It has to be something that, makes me call them that. But it's funny because I've had reporters say to me, no, you're right tackle. And I'll say, yeah, like Haas. Yeah, I don't know his real name. And they all laugh. But yeah, I think growing up, every one of my friends had a nickname.
When we look at this season, 4-0 stands out, but I think that the quality of victory against a team like Connellsville really also catches my attention, because a year ago you beat them, but it was a wild 1-point game. Now you win this one really in a dominant fashion. Does that exemplify the growth from 2020 to 2021 with your group?
Yeah, you hope so. Like, I'd be truthful. I've done this for a long time. I don't even count last year. When you take away a camp where 2-a-days where you actually, build your team, and then you take away all the exhibition games and the scrimmage, it's tough to prepare anybody. I don't know if the pros could do that, especially high school kids. So last year was kind of a blank for me. I don't gauge much off of it, but I do think our kids stayed together and played every game extremely hard, which carried over for this year.
And it's carried over to a 4-0 record, and I believe that's the first time in about 20 years that the Cavaliers have won their first 4 games. What have you seen in terms of excitement around the program, particularly in the community?
It was amazing. Our second game against Franklin Regional, there were people that didn't get in the stadium until almost halftime. They were lined the whole way around the school to get in, and at one time I turned around, and of course it helped that Franklin Regional brought a lot. Their student section was big. So I turned around, and I don't know if there was a seat available on either side of the stadium. And, as a player, man, that's what you hope for, that big crowd or, So the community in our student section has been wonderful.
You have your final non-conference game upcoming this week, and it will be a pretty stiff test as you host West Allegheny. That's an Indians team that has won a lot of championships and a lot of games over the years. What stands out about the Indians?
You know what? They have great skill kids. The quarterback, 6'4", throws a tremendous ball. They have a running back, 2 wideouts. They're just a good overall team. And like you said, the tradition they build off of. They've always been aggressive. They're a very physical team. This year, they have some unbelievable skill.
And after that contest, you jump into Northeast Conference play. North Hills, Fox Chapel, Shaler area, Pine Richland, and Penn Hills are the opponents that await. What are some of the goals once you begin the conference slate?
Wow, with that schedule you just said, most of the time, there's that one game where you go, okay, we can be easy that game. With our schedule, there is no let-up All those schools you mentioned are all very, very good and very well coached. Our goal, of course, is to one game at a time. We tell our kids every week, hey, listen, let's just go 1-0. Because each week is different. You try to get them win that week, and then you worry about the next one.
And lastly, I know you've had many different coaching stops over the years, but this 2021 version of Kiski area, what stands out most to you?
I think the closeness of everybody, the coaching staff and the team, that's so important. You know, people all say to me, how are you still doing this with all the parents and all the, and listen, so I walked in the other day and a kid who maybe played 2 downs in the years I've been here at Kiski said to me, hey, Coach, man, it's great seeing you. I just stopped by. You're like a father to me, and I want to thank you for him. And I'm like, okay, they asked me why I coach. That's why I coach. That bond you make with the kids is so important. And especially nowadays, I really think it's very important. So I think the camaraderie with the team and the coaches is special this year.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time. We're very excited about the great start and hope that the Cavaliers continue it the rest of the way.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
That's Sam Albert, the head coach of the Kiski area Cavaliers.
You're always on the winning team with Bowser Chevrolet of Monroeville and Bowser Chevrolet Chippewa. Visit BowserChevrolet.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and get the power of Bowser in your hands. With the new Chevy vehicles arriving weekly, reserve yours now at Bowser Chevrolet. See the full lineup of Chevy cars, trucks, and SUVs at BowserChevrolet.com. Bowser Chevrolet, where the power of Bowser is yours.
Your next golf adventure awaits at Manor Valley Golf Course in Export. Manor Valley offers 18 scenic holes over gentle sloping fairways and the purest putting surfaces around. Manor Valley Golf Course in Export is the perfect place to host your next golf outing, banquet party, or shower. Manor Valley also offers league play and great membership rates. Tee times available. Call 724-744-4242. Visit ManorValleyGC.com.
Welcome back, and we thank Sam Albert, the head coach for the Kiski area Cavaliers. Enjoyed talking to him. I think that was the first time since he's been a Kiski area that I talked to him. He sent the ringer out for our coaches show, that being his son Aaron Albert. And so, enjoyed talking to Sam. You could tell he's an old school guy, and he cracks some jokes about Hepler had to play, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't realize they were related. And he said if he doesn't play this year, you're not coming to any family reunions.
Yep,
so he had to play.
Punishment enough, and very happy that he has played. Again, Cavaliers off to a great start. We'll see how good they really are down the stretch, because they have a very difficult game against West Allegheny, and then they go into the likes of Penn Hills and Pine Richland.
Litmus test coming.
I don't think they're going to go undefeated all season, but they are clearly much improved over a year ago and probably over the last handful of years, to be honest. So we thank him. That was our first interview. We'll have another one upcoming with Anthony Govern of Southmoreland because
he won our Player of the Week.
Oh.
Duh. How about Anthony Govern last week? I mean, he's been a candidate for a few weeks now, but he certainly deserved it. Completed 8 of 18 passes for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran for over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Southmoreland was able to win their first conference game of the season, and that happened in their conference opener against South Allegheny. But we also want to congratulate our other nominees this week, because Rashad Kennedy was not far behind Mr. Govern. Anthony got 44.6% of the vote. Rashad Kennedy got 30% of the vote. He ran for 3 touchdowns in that Golden Lions win over Knock. We also want to congratulate C.J. Hepler, who was nominated 2 weeks in a row, 146 yards and 2 touchdowns ever since he stepped in for Brock Wilkins. No pun intended. He's taken the ball and run with it for sure. And that was the Cavaliers' win last week. And then Quentin Martin for Bell Vernon, 9 rushes, 160 yards, and 3 touchdowns over West Mifflin. We see him do it all the time, probably his biggest game of the year. So congratulations to all of our nominees. And yes, I mean, there are some players that will be nominated this year that won't win Player of the Week, but they should just be really, happy with their performance to be nominated, because these kids certainly laid it out on the line and did a great job. We had over 2,000 votes this week, with, once again, Anthony getting 44.6% of the vote, which you can round up to 45%, I think, safely.
Approximately.
So don't forget to vote. We will have our voting up on our website and on social media. Look for it on Sunday, Monday, usually on Sunday afternoon. We'll get it up there for you.
Depending on how into the Steelers game Flick might be.
That's true. And last week I wasn't into it much, so it was up very early. How's your groin, by the way, Sean? Is it all right? You didn't pull anything
good.
coming into the studio today?
No,
all right, that's
pretty.
Good. I'm good as well. We'll see what happens this weekend. But don't forget, you can vote on Sunday afternoon. The voting closes then usually Tuesday at noon. You can vote once per day. And the most important thing is share. Share on social media. Make sure you get votes for your favorite Westmoreland County Player of the Week. And we'll talk with Anthony next.
Yeah, and that's a challenge to Kiski area and Bell Vernon area fans, because they've had some players on here a couple weeks now. Get out there, spread the word. Certainly much deserving for Govern, but there's a lot of guys very deserving. So it's all coming down to the fan base that's the most vocal, in a sense. Yep. We will hear from Anthony momentarily as our Dan Flickinger talk to the Player of the Week, once again, Southmoreland's quarterback, Anthony Govern. That's up next as we continue right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
We know speaking with your teen or your young adult about drugs and alcohol can be challenging, but is necessary. Remember to have a conversation, not a confrontation. Establish good communications, break through barriers, and be firm but loving. Here are some helpful tips. Choose a good place and time to chat. Talk with openness. Actively listen. Offer empathy and support. For more information, visit us online at wedacinc.org. Westmoreland Drug and Alcohol Commission. Prevention is key.
The most incredible machine ever created didn't come with replacement parts. Until now. Rebuilding the human body takes skill, not just science. Some of the region's most accomplished orthopedists are right here at Excella Health. Our team of specialists are using non-surgical treatments, minimally invasive procedures, and the most sophisticated and complex surgical techniques to restore all aspects of human motion.
All right.
Whether you walk or fly. Orthopedics at Excella Health. Expert care begins here.
Welcome back. We continue on Westmoreland on the Gridiron on the Westmoreland Sports Network, and it is now time for our interview with our Player of the Week, our Westmoreland Sports Network Player of the Week. This week is Anthony Govern from the Southmoreland Scotties, and what a game that he had in Week 3 in the Scotties Conference opening victory against the South Allegheny Gladiators. He passed for 170 yards. He ran for 108. He combined for 5 touchdowns. Anthony, congratulations on being voted Player of the Week this week.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Well, you certainly meant a lot to the Scotties last week, and you do every single week. A big victory for you, again, against South Allegheny to start out conference play. What did you like most about your team's performance last week in that win?
We knew coming in that it was a big section game, so the guys stepped up big, and we executed when we needed to do. We controlled the clock very well, made some big plays. I'm not going to lie, I got to give a lot of credit to the line. Without them, we wouldn't be anything.
Yeah, they've certainly done a nice job for you this year, and I want to ask you about that big fourth quarter you had. You possessed the ball for basically the entire quarter. How much confidence does that give you going forward, knowing that when you get into the fourth quarter, if you guys have a lead, you can close the game out because you did it in the fourth quarter against South Allegheny? Does that give you confidence going forward?
It gives us a lot of confidence. It's nice knowing that we can keep our run game going late in the game. It makes it easier on our offense and our defense when we can run the ball. I mean, it gets our defense off the field, and a lot of guys aren't even playing both ways, so it's nice to get the defense off the field when we can.
What did you like most about the way that you specifically played in the game against South Allegheny?
I think I played all right. I mean, obviously I need to complete more than 8 of 18 passes, but overall, I think I had pretty good pocket presence, and the way I can avoid pressure and still get the ball down the field, I think my receivers did a wonderful job. It was just a great team win.
Well, now that you mentioned, I wanted to ask you about, you moving to quarterback a little bit later on, but is it still kind of a learning process for you? You've done a great job, but in terms of, wanting to complete more passes, like you said, I mean, is that something that, you can get better at each and every week because it's more of a new position for you?
Definitely, but there's obviously no excuse. I mean, I'm there to do what the coaches asked me to do. I just need to execute better and go from there.
Coach Kiefer said after the game that you guys knew it was your conference opener. Did you practice with a little more intensity knowing that, or were you just more focused? What do you think kind of made you guys really, focus on the fact that, hey, this is our conference opener, we have to win this game?
Well, you know Coach Kiefer as well as I do. There's not a day that we aren't intense. I mean, we just emphasize that we need to stay focused throughout the whole week and keep our eyes on our goal.
Yeah, we love talking about Coach Kiefer. Give us a sense of what it's like to play for him. I'm sure it's not too hard to stay motivated.
Oh, no, this dude, before games, I feel like he's going to run through the brick wall.
You formed a connection with Isaac Trout. He also intercepted a pass on defense last week, but he had a big week. What makes your connection so special with Isaac?
Well, I mean, we've been best friends for a very long time. I mean, we've literally been playing football together since we were 6 years old. I mean, our connection is pretty great. We know exactly what each other are capable of doing, and I think that's what makes us very dangerous.
Is there anything defenses you've noticed that are doing differently against Isaac, or, I mean, is it just that you guys are that much, I guess, that good that you can keep connecting like this?
I mean, my receivers know, not only Isaac, but all my receivers, J.J. Bloom, Josh Bass, they all know that I can keep the play going, so they just find the holes, and then I keep my eyes down the field and connect to them.
Yeah, Bloom had a big week last week as well. I'm sure that kind of helps you out. That way, defenses can't always spy on Isaac. Coach Kiefer mentioned after the game about cleaning up the penalties. Well, what do you have to focus on to eliminate those, Anthony?
We just got to stay disciplined. I mean, during the game, we get a little excited and a little fired up, and it's great. I love it, but we need to do it between the whistles and do the right things.
You've played multiple positions during your high school career, and now you're the quarterback. And honestly, as I mentioned earlier, you've made it look easy. How has it come so natural to you, and what do you think has been the key to your success this year?
The coaching staff has been a huge part of making me the best that I can be. I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of room for improvement, and I have to give a huge shout-out to my linemen, Ben Yeske, Corey Ansel, Aiden Corvin, Mason Niederheiser, Caleb Tax, and even Joey Stebbin. Without them, like I said, we are nothing as a team. And I think being a pitcher in baseball, I knew that I had the arm strength. I just need to get the technique down.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned another sport because I want to ask you about wrestling. And, of course, we got to give a shout-out to Coach Boring as well, who always takes care of us. All of you guys take care of us when we're in the gym calling wrestling. And I know you still have a lot of football season to go and hopefully playoff games and everything, but how excited are you for the wrestling season once it gets here?
Oh, I'm super excited. I've had one goal since I started as a freshman, and that's the 100 wins. I want that so bad.
How close are you, Anthony?
I'm at 67 right now.
All right. I think you'll get there. We'll all be rooting for you for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We love covering you guys, certainly, and certainly a lot of fun. So, you have baseball, you have wrestling, you have football. Would you like to play a sport in college, and are you leaning towards one right now?
I'm not leaning towards anything right now, not even a school. I'm just waiting for the best opportunity to get thrown at me. I'm keeping my options open.
That's the best way to do it. So Southmoreland kind of flew under the radar coming into the year maybe, but certainly not anymore. What are your team goals? Have they changed at all based on how you guys have started the year?
No, they haven't changed at all, actually. We knew coming in summer workouts that we wanted a section title and a couple playoffs win. That's been our goal since we've stepped foot on the field, and we know what we need to do for that to happen, and we're just going to keep working for that to happen.
Looking ahead to Friday, you guys play Mount Pleasant. In case you didn't know, huge game, rivalry game. What's the excitement level like in practice this week, and how do you envision it being on Friday night?
Oh, you don't even have to say anything to the guys right now. They just know it's a Mount Pleasant week. We came in Monday and started going. We know how big this game is, and to be honest, the seniors want this game more than anybody else right now.
Should make for a great one. What do you need to do well to beat Mount Pleasant? What are some of the things maybe they do well and you guys have to kind of counteract and get this win on Friday?
We just need to execute. We need to follow the game plan going in and just don't give up. We know that it's not going to be the same team that we watched on film. It's a rivalry, so they're going to come out with intensity, and we will just come out with a little more.
And you have to be looking forward to it because, last year there weren't big crowds. This year there will be a big crowd on Friday night. I'm sure you're really looking forward to that too.
Oh, the atmosphere in these games are unbelievable, even non-rivalry, like when LH came to town, McGuffey. Even when we went to Perry, we had a pretty big crowd, so it's just great to be back. It's so much fun.
Yeah, you played some interesting non-conference games this year. Laurel Highlands, you mentioned Perry. What's that been like?
Oh, it's been fun. I think we had 3 very hard non-conference games. I think they're all solid teams. And I don't know enough about the rest of the teams, but we faced a lot of team speed in those first 3 games, and I don't know that we'll see anybody that fast the rest of the year.
Yeah, definitely gets you ready for conference play. We are talking with our Week 3 Westmoreland Sports Network Player of the Week, Anthony Govern, as he was able to lead the Scotties to a victory over the South Allegheny Gladiators. Anthony, this has been great, but we still have our quick 6 questions for you. You ready for them?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at Anthony Govern. So first of all, what is your favorite thing about playing football, and how long have you played?
I've been playing for about 14 years. I started when I was 4 years old. And the best thing about this game is the brotherhood that you form with all the guys. This is the most team chemistry that Southmoreland has had in a very long time, and I believe that it helps every Friday night.
Yeah, I believe in our training camp preview you mentioned that, how much team chemistry you guys have. It has certainly helped you out on Friday nights. What are some of the things you do for fun, Anthony?
I like to hunt and fish, but during football season, I watch a lot of film, and my dad has told me on multiple occasions to quit watching film. It's 1 o'clock in the morning.
It's time to go to bed, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Who's the guy on the team that cracks the jokes and keeps things light? And I know that's not easy with Coach Kiefer around, but, who's the guy that can kind of, keep everybody loose?
J.J. Bloom, for sure. There's not a day goes by where he doesn't say something to get all the guys laughing. He even gets Coach Kiefer to laugh, and that's saying something.
That's tough, isn't it?
Oh, we could be getting ran over and over and over again, and JJ still has a joke to say, and we all laugh about it and have a good time, and then get right back into work.
That's fantastic. How about your favorite sports movie?
The Field of Dreams.
Did you watch the baseball game at the Field of Dreams park?
Oh, it was unbelievable.
How awesome was that? I hope they do that more often. I think they are going to maybe play more games there next year.
I hope so. That was sick.
Kevin Costner comes out. And the players come through the fence out there and the cornfield. It really was so cool. When you go to Dairy Queen, what kind of Blizzard do you order? Are you a big Dairy Queen guy?
I like the strawberry cheesecake Blizzard, actually.
All right. I'm more of an Oreo guy, but I see where you're coming from there. If you could meet one person, past or present, could be a celebrity, could be an athlete, could just be anybody, who would it be?
I'd have to say James Harrison. The dude played with some crazy intensity, and I love it. I inspire to be everything he ever was.
Yeah, there aren't more physical guys, even in NFL history, than James Harrison, that's for sure. Biggest influence on your life, Anthony, who would you say that would be, that's helped you along and things like that?
I actually have 2. My dad, Alan Govern, and my late grandfather, Randy Govern. They both played a huge part in that and the man I am today. For as long as I can remember, we were outside throwing football or baseball, and they would always teach me the same things over and over again. But I'm so glad that they did. I couldn't thank them enough.
Well, not only have they made you a great player on the field, I know you're a good student, and this conversation was great. We always love talking with you, whether it's during football season. And don't worry, we will talk to you during wrestling season, that's for sure. Smitty and those guys will be talking with you multiple times, I'm sure. This was fantastic. Thank you so much, Anthony. Good luck this weekend as you guys play Mount Pleasant and the rest of the season. We'll talk again soon, okay?
All right, thank you.
That was Anthony Govern, our Player of the Week for Week 3. Again, he ran for 108 yards, passed for 170, combined for 5 touchdowns against South Allegheny. We'll be back on Westmoreland on the Gridiron as we take a look at Week 4 games, including Mount Pleasant and Southmoreland, here on the Westmoreland Sports Network.
At Sunbelt Mitsubishi, buying your new vehicle is as easy as stop, shop, and roll. Stop wasting time in the dealership. Shop online in just a few easy steps. Roll on home in your new Mitsubishi or have it delivered to your door. SunbeltMitsubishi.com. At Sunbelt Volkswagen, buying your new vehicle is as easy as stop, shop, and roll. Stop wasting time in the dealership. Shop online in just a few easy steps. Roll on home in your new Volkswagen or have it delivered to your door. SunbeltVolkswagen.com.
Your next golf adventure awaits at Manor Valley Golf Course in Export. Manor Valley offers 18 scenic holes over gentle sloping fairways and the purest putting surfaces around. Manor Valley Golf Course in Export is the perfect place to host your next golf outing, banquet party, or shower. Manor Valley also offers league play and great membership rates. Tee times available. Call 724-744-4242. Visit ManorValleyGC.com.
We roll along here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron. We thank our player of the week, Anthony Govern, for taking the time to talk to Flick. Busy young man, I'm sure.
I had to throw in that wrestling question.
Yeah.
We had to talk about wrestling, or Chris Smith would give me a Jap double. I don't even know what that means, Sean, but I'm scared of it. I don't know.
I would not want Chris or Anthony giving you any wrestling moves, quite frankly. Then you will have a groin injury.
Yeah, that's 100% true. But good kid, and looking forward to seeing what he has for the rest of the year, and certainly during wrestling too.
Yeah, and he's got a big test this week. We'll get to that momentarily, but let's look at the Week 4 preview here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. A number of these games we will have on audio or video. We begin with one of the biggest games of the entire WPIAL season. It'll be on video. Thomas Jefferson at Bell Vernon area. That's a conference matchup that in all likelihood will determine not only the conference champion, but probably the number 1 seed in 4A. They've met many times over the years. Leopards have gotten a few, but usually when it really counts, it's been Thomas Jefferson. I think everyone on Bell Vernon's team is well aware of that and wants to change that trend.
Absolutely, and I think that they might just do that. First time we've had a chance to broadcast this game. Really excited. I know there are other outlets that are going to be there, but if you're out and about, you can watch on your mobile device. If you're at home and maybe don't have access to watch it elsewhere, you can watch it on your computer. But this should be a fantastic matchup, as it always is. And it's really interesting, Sean, looking back at it, the last time Bell Vernon beat TJ was 2017, a 21-17 win at Weir Stadium. But then TJ got the last laugh, 27-0 win in the semifinals that year, and that was in Class 4A. So even if Bell Vernon wins this game, or if Thomas Jefferson wins this game, when they meet again in the playoffs, and they probably will, whether it's in the championship or what have you, it should be a great game, but you don't know who's going to take it. It could be the team that lost the first time around.
And both of these teams have proven so far that they are absolutely incredible because they've beaten some very good teams. Obviously, we know that Bell Vernon beat Penn Trafford. We were there for that. Thomas Jefferson has defeated Gateway. So they're beating not only the best teams in 4A, but they've defeated some of the best teams in 5A. As well. These teams are absolutely legit. And again, you mentioned, well, if you're out and about or whatever, keep in mind you can go back and watch this one after
archive
the fact.
On demand.
So that's what I would recommend as well, especially if you go to the game and then you want to go and watch it later, or you just want to watch it a second time. Archived Westmoreland Sports,
especially for Mark Kotarski analysis.
Yes,
and that's the biggest reason.
Yes, absolutely. Another video broadcast that we will have is Bethel Park at Franklin Regional. That's another opportunity for the Panthers to try to snap their skid a little bit. It is a non-conference game in Class 5A. JW will be broadcasting that one. And again, the Panthers, they have a lot of skill players who are making a mark, and they put it all together. I think Bethel Park will be another chance for them to potentially get their first victory against a 5A school.
Yeah, it'll certainly be a nice challenge, too, because Bethel Park, I know that they're only 1-3, but they've been competitive against the Cannon McMillan team that's in Class 6A. They've faced some really good teams so far, so they're going to be ready to face Franklin Regional.
I think it's a fairly even matchup, and that's, I think, ideal when you get to the end of your non-conference. If you're a 5A team, you're playing 5 weeks of games that don't technically count. I think you want a good test towards the end to see where you stand and what you really need to improve upon. I think maybe you could say the same for Penn Trafford, because on Saturday, 1:30 start time, it'll be a video broadcast, Penn Trafford at Shaler area. That's a team that typically the Warriors have handled easily, but I think Shaler's gotten a little bit better. And maybe for Penn Trafford, this one means a little bit more than usual because they need to bounce back, not just win, but show that they have corrected some of those mistakes.
Yeah, I call this the get back on track game for Penn Trafford, which they certainly have the ability to do. You mentioned a Shaler team that's been down in most years, even though
2-2 this year.
They are 2-2 this year, and they're playing at home on homecoming and things like that. But this has to be a game where Penn Trafford tries its best to limit the mistakes, play flawlessly, maybe get that passing game going a little bit, and really kick everything into gear for conference play coming up.
I know you probably can't see it. I have Mount Lebanon at Hempfield area written down, and I had to draw some lines.
That's incorrect now, Sean.
Yes, because those teams will still play. We'll still broadcast it Friday at 7 p.m., but it will not be at Hempfield area. They have swapped. It will now be at Mount Lebanon. So what was going to be a very difficult matchup for the Spartans to begin with now becomes even more foreboding.
Even more difficult. Mount Lebanon's off to a terrific start this year. We knew coming into the year that they would be really good. And I talked with Hempfield area athletic director Brandon Rapp, and he said, we've been working on getting the track installed for a few weeks now. We were even lucky to play the games at home that we have so far, and this was a situation where the final installation is going to happen, so they had to move the game to Mount Lebanon. I think COVID has slowed things down. They had planned on having this being done before the season even started, but with materials being in short supply, I don't think it was possible. So I know we tend to blame everything on COVID, but I think that's where we are at this point.
6A is very interesting. There is one winless team overall, that being the Baldwin Highlanders. There's one undefeated team, that's Mount Lebanon. Every other team's either 2-2 or 3-1. Spartans obviously are in the middle of that at 2-2, but they're going against, at least as of now, the top team record-wise in 6A. So that will be a very stiff test. Won't be much easier for the Norway Knights as they welcome Seneca Valley. That's a Raiders team that made short work of Hempfield area last week. That will be a 7 o'clock start as well for an audio broadcast, so another chance for a 6A bounce back for the Norway Knights. Indiana area at Greensburg-Salem. Two teams that had struggled last year. I think they're both considerably better. The Little Indians love to run the football. Greensburg-Salem loves to pass the football. And this one could go a long way when you look maybe 3-4 weeks in the future determining what team gets into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's a key game for both teams, but certainly a Westmoreland County team. We're looking at Greensburg-Salem specifically, and I kind of see them continuing, to kind of roll in this game and maybe get a good win for Dave Kiefer.
Keep in mind, Indiana set an all-time school record, scoring 70 points just a couple weeks ago against Derry area.
I had to bring that up, didn't you?
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you.
but you're also kind of an Indiana guy in a sense,
That's
right?
true,
It
yeah.
was your home.
I did live there for a number of years, so go Little Indians.
Just not this week.
Maybe Crimson Hawks.
Okay.
No, we can't cheer for them either because now I'm a Seton Hill guy. I don't know what's
his allegiance is all over the place.
all over the place.
Here's a Westmoreland County battle that everyone will be paying attention to. This one has always meant a lot, but when it's two teams in the same conference, it means even more. Southmoreland at Mount Pleasant area. Scotties and Vikings, the rivalry renewed. And two teams, I think, in a little bit different directions right now. Southmoreland's riding high off of a couple victories. Mount Pleasant reeling after a good start. They have lost 2 consecutive.
This should be an excellent game. And when you look at the Thomas Jefferson Bell Vernon game, these are the games that you live for. Week 0 is great. You have those early rivalries. They're great, but they're not conference games. So at the end of the day, they don't have a whole lot of meaning. These games, conference rivalry games, these games really mean a lot. So Mount Pleasant and Southmoreland should be a lot of fun. And you mentioned, Sean, Mount Pleasant, after a great start, really going the other direction. But, they play a 4A team in Greensburg-Salem, a 5A team in Latrobe. Now they're able to kind of settle into conference play and play against their rival. I expect a much better performance for Mount Pleasant. But that being said, you mentioned Southmoreland really riding high. They have a lot of confidence. They're clicking on all cylinders. So I think this game's really interesting. I don't know how to predict it. I really don't.
One of the interesting things is Southmoreland already has a conference win. Remember, Mount Pleasant was the one team in that conference that did not have a conference game last week playing against Greater Latrobe. The other thing that I found interesting, should be the last week of the regular season these teams are meeting, right? I mean, that's when they usually have those big rivalry showdowns. For whatever reason, not the case. So it's a little bit earlier this year, but should be a good one. Again, that's 2 Westmoreland County teams. All eyes will be on that on WSN.
And again, we mentioned earlier in the show, if you weren't tuned in, Reese, the quarterback for Mount Pleasant, is expected to play this week. And, we know how active a quarterback he is. That'll be a big return for the Vikings.
Also in that same conference, the Yacht Cougars travel to play at South Allegheny. Valley at Deer Lakes as the Vikings look to get off the schneid going against the Deer Lakes team riding high after a win. Jeanette at Amani Christian. This is, as of now, still scheduled to take place, but remember, Amani Christian forfeited their last game, and they made the announcement, I believe, on Friday morning. So keep tuned to see if that game does happen.
And you have to say this is another winnable game for Jeanette.
Absolutely. That's what, you look at it, they could be 2-0 in the conference. It's crazy to say, but they could be 2-0 in this conference if they take care of business against a Saints team that is reeling. Greensburg Central Catholic, Bishop Canevin, 7 o'clock on Saturday, the rare Saturday night game for the Centurions against a really good and surprisingly good Bishop Canevin team. And again, you look at Clairton, that's probably still the favorite. I think these teams could be right there battling for second place, if nothing else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what makes this season so interesting. I talked earlier about some teams that were maybe middle of the pack and maybe didn't have a real chance to win a conference championship in years past. I think Greensburg Central Catholic in the last 5 years or so, they've been in that kind of boat. But this year, I think they have an opportunity to compete with Clairton, and obviously this will be a big game against Bishop Canevin on Saturday.
Yeah, both those teams are 1-0 in the conference. Bishop Canevin 4-0 overall, GCC 3-1. They have a forfeit victory. Their only loss came against a 5A school in Upper St. Clair. Jefferson Morgan at Monessen as the Greyhounds look for their third straight. Non-conference Greater Latrobe at South Fayette. That will be a very stiff test for the Wildcats as they have their last tune-up before entering Big East Conference play. The same can be said for Kiski area. You heard my conversation with Sam Albert. We talked about this. Hosting West Allegheny, that's a very good team year in and year out. We'll see if that 4-0 record is legit for the Cavaliers. If they can go to 5-0, they will put everyone on notice around the WPIAL. Apollo Ridge at Burrell. Carrick at Ligonier Valley round out the non-conference. That Carrick at Ligonier Valley, well, that's always an interesting one to get a City League school. I believe, if I'm correct, that was supposed to be originally an open week for the Rams. There's a quirk in the schedule where there's an open week in 2A, I believe, every week of the season, and the Rams were supposed to have this one, so they went and got their own opponent out of the City League. So it's going to be a long trek for Carrick, but a chance to go to 5-0. And again, this is a good tune-up when you don't have some of your star players, including your starting quarterback.
Could you say long trek for Carrick 3 times in a row?
I couldn't even say it once in a row. So the answer would be no.
I mentioned Southmoreland. They played Perry. Was that last week, right?
Yeah.
No, 2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks.
Thursday game.
Yeah, that was
Perry
before
Traditional
the South
Academy.
Game. Yeah. So.
By the way, Tyrese Freebride just committed to Kentucky, the former Penn State commit.
Yeah.
Yes, he verbaled. And Lamont Payne of Chartiers Valley, a 2023 defensive back, one of the best in the WPAL, gave his pledge at the whiteout to Penn State. So a couple of local players making commitments in what, quite frankly, has been sort of a down period for big-time recruits. 2022's class, not great in the WPIAL. 2023 should be a little bit better. You got Rodney Gallagher. That's going to be a big name. And then you look at 2024, Quentin Martin, the headliner. Right. Yep, along with the linebacker Anthony Specca from Pittsburgh Central Catholic. Another game that was supposed to be on the ledger, we were going to bring it to you, but unfortunately it will not be taking place. Derry area at Freeport. This one postponed. Don't know if they're going to be able to make this one up or not? It probably would be pretty difficult at this point. I believe that's on the Yellow Jackets side. Is that correct?
It's actually not.
It is not.
It's on the Dairy side.
Okay, because Freeport did not play last week in their game,
right,
against Apollo Ridge. So this
from what I was told, it's on the Dairy side. I think it involved COVID. So
yeah, and that's unfortunate because we know that was a major theme all of last year. The hope was it was behind us, but I think everyone realizes now you can't just assume that you're going to be able to make it through unscathed. So unfortunately, the Trojans and Yellow Jackets will not be able to play this week. 2 more games. They both come at the collegiate level. Slippery Rock at Seton Hill University. We will have that on video Saturday at 6 o'clock. The pregame begins an hour earlier. That, as you mentioned, the number 6 team in the country at Slippery Rock. That will be a real test for the Griffins as they officially open PSAC conference play on the west side. And then St. Vincent at Teal as the Bearcats look to get their first win in PAC action. That will be Saturday at 7 o'clock.
It really is amazing how strong the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference is. It's like every year that Seton Hill plays Slippery Rock, IUP, or Cal, they're all ranked, and usually one is ranked higher than the others, and then the next year the other one, an IUP will pass a Slippery Rock. I mean, just so difficult, and all in the Western Division, by the way.
Yeah, and they just played one of the best in the East as well.
Right, yeah, in Kutztown this year. So, and they played well against them. If the offense can get going, I mean, they'll have to against Slippery Rock. They can't have their defense on the field that long against this Slippery Rock team. They just can't do it because I could see the defense playing well early and then getting worn out if the offense can't get first downs.
Yeah, and probably to pull the upset, you're going to have to score in some unusual ways. Maybe a special teams or defensive touchdown.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a game where the offense, probably from start to finish for the Griffins, can just grind out the victory.
I do have to mention, a few years ago, Seton Hill did upset Slippery Rock in a big way. I will say, though, their offense was much better than it is this year. Now, their defense this year is much better than that year. But, to pull an upset, again, you got to score touchdowns. You mentioned special teams, get turnovers, something to be able to pull that off. And I believe, if I remember right, Slippery Rock missed a game-tying field goal at the end of the game to give the victory to Seton Hill. But that was quite an experience at Offutt that day, and we'll see if Dan Day has it in him this week.
And I think the biggest takeaway for this game is that TJ DeStefano will not be on the broadcast.
No, I hope people still tune in.
Wow.
I mean, without TJ. But we do have this Roger Downs guy that has been doing soccer all week. I think he's ready for American football.
TJ's probably watching right now, and I would think a tear rolls down his eye.
Yeah, he's probably emailing, but guess what, TJ? We're not going to get to your emails.
Yeah, sorry, TJ. Nonetheless, a full slate of games that we will have on broadcast, whether it be video or audio, for this upcoming week. Flick, before we sign off, any final messages for our loyal listeners?
I do. The one message, I want to give a big thank you out to Barry Rieger, who runs WesternPASports.com and does a fantastic job of the photographs that he has every Friday night, but not only for high school football, boys and girls soccer. I believe he has field hockey on there as well, and then, of course, into the winter and into the spring seasons. When you look at our new website, westmorelandsports.com, many of Barry's pictures are on our site that we have for our broadcast, for our articles, and I just, we really, really appreciate our relationship and friendship that we have with Barry, with Ken, I should say, Ken and Barry. Both of those guys do a fantastic job, Ken Reevy and Barry Rieger, running the website. Thank you so much to them. And, again, just a fantastic way to purchase whether it's a digital download or a print, to have forever. I mean, that's something that you can hang up in your man cave when you're older, right? And show your kids, like, this is how I truck somebody on Friday nights. I mean, so it's
now, did they
really
have
great.
Any photographs from when your playing days?
Oh, it was too long ago. I do have a photograph. I don't think it was from Barry or Ken, but I have one.
Were you trucking someone, or
I'll have to bring it? Kind of. I was busting through the line against York. Yes, that was my claim to fame, that picture of mine.
Nice.
I will have to bring that in and show everyone. Nobody will care.
One of these days we will get that up here. Well, another great show here. I want to thank everyone who helped make this possible. Our guest, Sam Albert, the head coach for the Kiski Area Cavaliers, and our player of the week, Southmoreland's Anthony Govern. Remember, not only on Friday nights do you want to check out westmorelandsports.com, each and every day all throughout the fall sports season. You have the football preview that is up on Fridays. We have the Westmoreland County Sports Notebook, as well as the Seton Hill Griffins update on Mondays, the Westmoreland Alum Q&A on Tuesdays. We have updated scores all throughout the week. So great content in addition to all of our live and archive broadcasts. For now, signing off, Sean Myers and Dan Flickinger saying thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you again next Wednesday, 7 p.m. right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.